Today I fucked up by sending my package to the Vice President of Human Resources. This happened a few years ago, but still pops up in conversation to this day. I work for a multi-billion-dollar company, and on a Friday night when I was still at work, the Vice President of Human Resources calls me and says I'm at a restaurant with Jane and wondering if you want to come out for a beer. I'm relatively new to the company and Jane was the brand new gorgeous receptionist at our company. I've never actually been out for a beer with either of them, so it sounded like a win-win. I got to hang out with this new girl, and it was a great networking opportunity with this executive. I show up at the restaurant, and I see him sitting there with this girl. The problem is this girl looks like she's 15 and not the gorgeous new receptionist I was expecting. It was his daughter Jane. They had the same name. I thought to myself, well, this is awkward. He then goes, well, Jane, now that my co-worker is here, your mom is going to come and pick you up. 5 minutes later the ex-wife shows up and takes the daughter home. I proceed to tell him that I was expecting the receptionist, Jane. He thought it was hilarious, and it started off the night with a good laugh. This guy is definitely an extrovert, and I am not. He starts chatting up these two older women at the table next to us. They're quite good looking but much older than me. I was in my 20s, they were in their 50s. Conversation flowed so smoothly, and after lots of beers and shots we ended up shutting the bar down. One of the older women took a liking to me and invited me back to her place. It was my first cougar and this cougar abused me. She essentially had her way with me for about 3 hours and I loved every moment of it. The next morning I'm back at home, so tired and laying in bed. I'm still buzzing from the night before with the biggest smile on my face. I'm laying there reflecting back on the night thinking, holy crap, the Vice President of HR literally just wingmaned for me and helped me take home my first cougar. This guy is a legend. Well, the cougar sends me a message as I'm laying there, and she starts to get frisky and asks me to send her a picture of my package. I wasn't going to say no to this request, especially after the night we just had. At the same time, the VP of HR messages me asking how I'm feeling. Well, I responded to him with what a night, and I sent her a picture of my package. Next thing I know, I get a text back from him saying I don't think this was for me. Holy #$. I just sent a picture of my eggplant emoji to an executive of my company. I thought I was about to have a heart attack. I sent him a message immediately apologizing and explaining it was for the girl from last night. He responded with a laughing text and saying it's a good angle, she should like it. Thankfully this guy is super cool and let it roll off as if nothing happened. Fortunately, we still joke about it to this day and he'll make a comment like, as long as you're not sending me any more pictures. The only problem now is whenever he's drunk around other executives of my company he loves to tell this story. So now most of the executives in a company that I'm trying to build my career with know that I sent me junk to the Vice President of Human Resources. Too long didn't read, I sent a picture of my package to the VP of Human Resources of my company. Well, he does manage human resources. Laughs. Documents, date, and time. It was my first cougar and this cougar abused me. She essentially had her way with me for about 3 hours and I loved every moment of it. Right? Reads like a Penthouse Forum submission. I guess those are some of the work benefits they were referring to before hiring. Do you guys offer health insurance? No, but let me tell you about our wingman policy. Don't worry. In fact, this story can make you more likable because the HR manager tells this story from his perspective. He took you out and you guys had a fun time with and he seems to like you. This funny story could even be an advantage. Today I fucked up by getting caught when having sex at a young age. Obligatory and necessary. This story happened 15 years ago, but until this day it's in my top 3 of my most traumatizing sexual backlashes. I was 14 at the time and I started dating this equal-aged girl I knew from school. Things went on for a few months in which we started to experiment and hormones were kicking in hard, so at some point we decided to have sex. Way too young, we realized, but you know. Hormones, smiley face. Being from an open-minded European country, at that age we already knew a lot about birth control, so we decided to buy condoms before engaging in the act, so eventually condoms became the standard. At some point I got invited to have dinner with my GF, her dad and stepmom. So I go over to my GF, her house, rang the door, she lets me in and instantly tells me that her dad and stepmom just left to the hospital to visit her aunt, so that there's plenty of time to have a bit of fun first. So we go upstairs to her room and start to have fun. We do it, and again, I'm so cringing telling this, especially since I was so young, man facepalming. After this third time, I asked her, when is your dad estimately going to be back so we don't have to get dressed as soon as we hear the door downstairs opening, because it'll be suspicious. At which she replied, oh I'll text my stepmom to text me when they leave the hospital, which she does, and we have some more fun. For about 15 minutes, when her dad suddenly knocks on her bedroom door, which was luckily locked, but it was clear what we were doing because we couldn't open the door for at least 3 minutes starting to count from the first knock. The knocks became more nervous, and he kept yelling to open up the door immediately. When she opened the door, her dad just looked at us and asked to go get dinner with a very how do I handle this face. So, we get out of her room, acting all innocent because anything could have been happening behind that closed door and not guilty until proven, and we go to the kebab restaurant on the corner of her street for takeaway. When waiting in line we start discussing what just happened and what story we were going to make up to cover the fact that we were having sex, because 14-year and it not being the standard age to be doing this already, and that's when I suddenly go, what did you do with the condoms we used, cause I just put them next to the bed every time we finished, and she replied, oh don't worry, I threw them in my garbage bin next to my bed while you were wrestling your pants back on in panic. So relieved that she did, we walked back to her place agreeing on this story where we just wanted to watch a movie in all privacy, and as soon as we walked in her dad asked us to put our jackets upstairs, where her room was, because the smell of the kebab would get stuck in our jackets. I didn't really think anything of it since it made sense, because the smell often does. So we went up, put our jackets there, and that's when we saw 4 condoms nicely put next to each other on her bed. I remember we just stood there for a full minute just staring at them, slowly realizing everything that had happened while we were getting the kebab. There are so many upsetting factors about the condoms being there on the bed. I could see them all flashing in front of my eyes while I was realizing the food was downstairs, getting cold, and I had only just a few moments before I needed to go eat it in front of her dad and stepmom. And so I did. The entire dinner no one spoke, but her dad kept staring at me and her. I left as soon as possible once the dinner was finished because the atmosphere just got too awkward. My GF later texted me that since her dad had jealousy issues, he asked the stepmother about the text message when they were in the hospital. When she told him who and what, he just immediately drove home, snuck in, and went to my GF bedroom to catch us. And that he wanted a chat with me the next day. Chat was okay, just the expected responsibility chat, but the entire condom reveal just damaged the relationship I had with him to the point of no return. I'm sharing this story now, 15 years later, because he recently became a client at this business I'm working for and sit across him at meetings weekly, and it constantly triggers the memory of me sitting across him during one of the most awkward dinners of my life, along with wondering if it's the same way for him, but if he's also thinking about the day he took 4 used condoms out of his daughter her garbage bin, and put them out on her bed to let her know that he knows that she was having sex. Too long didn't read, got caught having sex at 14 by my now ex-GF, her dad, and he made me sit through a very awkward dinner afterwards. At least there was condom evidence you had safe sex, which is probably the most important aspect of having sex at younger age. Still an unlucky situation. Had the same thing happening to me, although we didn't get to have any sex and I was standing in my girlfriend's pants as her mom came in. You said this was in your top 3. This is placed second. Third place goes to my mom needing to slam the front door of the apartment I was living in with my mom/dad/sis for at least 3 times before I noticed she had gotten home. My GF at the time, 17-18-year, was very loud when we had sex and we didn't hear my mom coming in because of it. First place is just too much. If I want to relive it by writing it down. Maybe someday? Her dad went through garbage and picked out his daughter's used condoms onto the bed. He is very fucked up. Yeah, that's the most disturbing part about this. Her dad picked through her trash and grabbed used condoms with both of their fluids on it. That's disgusting. Oh my god, I cringed the whole way through this for you. You should ask him how his daughter is doing, smiley face. Why did he even touch the used condoms in the first place, and then putting them on the bed on display sounds really fucking weird. Today I fucked up by letting my date wear my jizz rag. This happened to my roommate 3 days ago. He doesn't understand Reddit, so I figured I should post it because it's amazing. So my buddy just got sober and wasted a lot of his 20s getting high and pretty much just missing out on life. He got sober about a year ago and he moved into my house with me. I too am a friend of Bill. He figured he had a lot of catching up to do, since you don't have a lot of sex when you're a heroin addict, no sex drive, not interested, and he just starts lining girls up over the past year and falling in love for a month and then they would part ways. I walked into his room a few months ago and noticed a shirt half stuffed under his bed. I bent down to grab it and he said, "Please God, that's my jizz rag." I laughed and asked how long it had been in use. He replied that he had been using it since he moved in, so about 8 months. So fast forward 4 months and here is where things get fun. My friend has been seeing this girl he calls Egyptian goddess. She's not Egyptian and not quite a goddess, but I digress. So EG comes over one night, and they go to his room to fool around. I don't hear much from the other side of the house but some laughing and the occasional wall thump. I guess they finished up because as I walked down the hall and she came out of his dark room and said hey, I returned the greeting and my eyes began to gaze down at her shirt, realizing she was wearing his special shirt clad in a year's worth of special sauce. My brain connected the dots and I just burst out laughing and immediately went back to the living room and I hear him let out a shriek and say, "Take that shit off as fast as you can." Apparently he had put all his whites, he literally only wears white Pro Club shirts, next to his bed and she happened to reach down a play roulette with her life and the well-being of countless dried mini hymns. I hear some back and forth and she runs out through the living room out the front door in with tears streaming down her face. He sauntered into the room looking petrified, but he could not help but laugh at what had just happened. Apparently she has not contacted him since, which may be best for her dating life. Here he is with his prized possession. TL Doctor. Roommate was dating a girl, who accidentally grabbed his jizz rag shirt with a year's worth of sauce on it and put it on after they had sex, then unknowingly gave me a runway show. Edit grammar. Edit, holy shit. I've never been given any sort of award for anything I've ever posted, which to be honest is just a bunch of nature shit and some really embarrassing Pokemon posts. Thank you stranger. It's no coconut toe smiles. Edit, wow it's a platinum one, I will send you the shirt friend, I'll even have him sign it. Edit, thanks for the gold friend. I've redacted a few things since some people were worried about his anonymity. He looks so proud of that shirt. That is so fucking disgusting, holy shit, but funny story. This man is really holding his jizz rag for all to see. Doesn't it? Doesn't it fucking reek? Like how can you keep that under your pillow and not smell the dried cum? PFFFD, what an amateur. Pros use coconuts. Why did you remind us? Frown?